Little Gumboots is geographically situated about 10 minutes drive out of town, and I believe the locatedness does influence the families we have in attendance. The community is made up of two separate entities, with those being the staff and also the families who attend the centre. We open at 6 a.m. and operate until 6 p.m. and can accommodate 44 families per day. We are a professional community of 10 staff, all of which are studying to advance their careers. As a community, we gather together to celebrate special occasions, and the combined focus is always on the welfare and the development of the children. I have been a member of this community since February 2012, where I entered as a group leader, and since then I have become the assistant director and have no plans of ending this association. The community, in terms of the families who attend, are mostly lower class, according to the class positions as defined by Karl Marx. They work long hours, mostly in labouring positions, and take advantage of the centre's early opening hours to seek work in the farms. Our community has the ascribed identity of catering to the lower class, as most of the middle to upper class families in the region place their children in family daycare if required before sending their children to the local community kindergarten at the age of 4. This is a well-known practice, and the understanding in the community exists that this is a path the classes will take, and this view has been established over time. If the children are not ready for acceptance into the kindergarten community, then their parents will bring them to us to provide the skills they need before removing them from our care. This stigma makes it challenging for us as a community to raise our class level and be seen as a professional community. This causes me to reflect on the quote by Stuart Hall, who notes that we are always constructed in part by the practices and discourses that make us, such that we cannot find within ourselves as individual selves or subjects or identities the point of origin from which discourse of history or practice originates. We are always lodged and implicated in the practices and structures of everybody else's life. The situation I described, in my opinion, is adequately summed up by Hall in his 1991 article, titled Identity and Difference. All races are represented at the centre, although European races are the greater majority. I believe, based on conversations with previous clients, that Indigenous families often leave their children in the care of relatives, and that our location also influences decisions, as many people, despite race, do not have adequate transport. I've also been caused to question now whether people of other races feel the same sense of belonging as the majority groups. Gender is equally displayed amongst the clients, although I do have to acknowledge the fact that all of the contact staff are female, and I know for a fact that my community and industry has always been predominantly female, due to the fact that people feel uncomfortable with male workers, as society ascribes a negative identity on men in the industry, which is solely based on their gender. This causes me to reflect on the work of Code 2008, who states, "Gender is a myth. It has no natural basis and functions solely as a set of socially constructed ideas about how men and women should act. It is a socially ascribed ideal." I believe this also extends to the professions that society believes a person should have based on their gender, and society has not developed enough to be able to acknowledge that males do have a place in the childcare industry. Being in the industry for the last 15 years and having worked in various settings across many locations has provided me with the information that I have needed to form my views in relation to my community setting. I've also been privileged to have conversations with other members of the broader community, and it is these conversations on which I base my depiction of the nature of our community at Little Gumboots. Welcome to my kindergarten room at Little Gumboots. This room is designed specifically for children aged 3 to 5, although as a long-serving staff member I sometimes have a few extra visitors. The room is set up in areas to incorporate the major elements of play, and within this I have left space for whole group activities where we can all come together. In terms of the identity of the room, I believe that I have accounted for all axes where it comes to use of space and resources. Our aim is to promote equality, and I'm hoping that this is reflected in the environment. I'm going to give you a quick tour of my space and discuss how gender, race and class are incorporated into each area. Home corner is a big area in terms of defining identity, and it is here that we have dolls of different genders and races, and the children are provided with a range of clothes to dress them in. Food from around the world and different utensils are also present. Dress-up clothes are also provided from a range of occupations and cultures, and the children are free to express their individuality and creativity regardless of gender, class or race. The quiet area has a range of puzzles which depict different cultures and gender roles. The children access these based on their interest, and this gives us the opportunity to discuss their content. There are also books which promote equality and positive social skills, which incorporate elements of the three axes, as well as books focusing on specific cultures. In the mat area, I have different kinds of blocks, and the children love to combine them with the occupation people, who are not gendered, as well as the family sets, who have people of all different ages from different cultural backgrounds. I also have instruments from around the world, and this is reflected in the patterns on the instruments themselves. I often combine the use of instruments with different cultural music, and the children dance. I find music is a successful way of exposing the children to the sounds of languages other than our own. In our room, the children play together regardless of race, class or gender, and I find any conflicts which occur are not based on these differences. The one area I do need to improve on is the physical markings in the room. I have a few posters which include people of different races, abilities and non-gendered roles, but I would like more. I find it difficult to access these resources due to the cost, and I am hesitant to make my own, as I may not accurately reproduce the language due to my lack of understanding, and I may lose the meaning in translation. Belonging is one of the key areas of the early years learning framework, and I use a lot of pictures on the wall of the children. I place pictures down low where the children can see them alongside the artwork they have produced. All children are equally represented in the displays, and I have made several memory games using their faces. Each child has their own locker with their name and photo, and independence is encouraged as the children access items according to their needs and interests. Difference is not really highlighted as it has no place in this setting. Any obvious difference that the children bring to my attention are addressed in a sensitive way to help the children gain understanding of similarity rather than difference. I also incorporate self-concept into the program so we can discuss these areas as a group and educate the children. No one is excluded, and what we do in this room is done as a group and is offered to everyone, or it is not done at all. Middleton quoted in 1998 that, in part, our problems in coping with issues of human diversity stem from simple misinformation, misunderstanding, and ignorant speculation about the meaning of physical and cultural differences. By educating the children, I hope to create a positive understanding of differences and create a sense of belonging for all those who enter this community. I'd like to welcome you all to this staff meeting and thank Letitia for giving me the opportunity to share with you aspects of education that I have discovered in my recent uni course. If you would have asked me 2 months ago whether our community promoted belonging and difference, I would have without a doubt answered yes and begun to list the ways, some of which are detailed in the video presentation I have just shown you. I came across an article by a theorist named Sonia Nito titled Affirmation, Solidarity and Critique, Moving Beyond Tolerance in Education. On page 1, I have highlighted a section which states, "The most common understanding of multicultural education is that it consists largely of additive content, rather than of structural changes in content and process." Before reading this article, I would have told you that exposure is a way of educating the children in regards to difference, similarity and belonging, but since reading this, I've also learnt that it is the way in which these areas are taught, as well as the images used in association with the teaching of multiculturalism. First, we will focus on the concept of difference, and to fully understand this, we need to acknowledge that there are positive and negative differences. The term negative difference reflects that difference is thought of and portrayed negatively, whilst positive difference is centred on appreciating difference as diversity is essential. I'm also making available my copy of my course reading by Andrew Hickey, from which these definitions were taken. In the reading, there is a quote by a theorist named Middleton, who stated that perceiving difference always bears the potential for prejudice and discrimination. Perceiving commonality bears the potential for inclusion and understanding. We often find ourselves poised indecisively on the question of emphasising either similarities of differences, when we should see both as a single, unified model, our framework for understanding. I found a few examples within my room that I would like to discuss with you, as further study of this subject has changed the way that I would view them. I present to you now a few pictures I had on display. The first depicts an Aboriginal person in traditional body paint, and the other is a group of Aboriginal children sitting at a table eating fruit. I always thought that they promoted multiculturalism, but to analyse them further has caused me to question my belief. The image of the group of Aboriginal children does not encourage a sense of belonging and focuses on the differences rather than the similarities. This picture would have been more inclusive if other races were incorporated into the pictures, as this is more realistic in an environment such as ours. I also appreciate the image of the Aboriginal person in traditional dress, but have now come to believe that such images can sometimes be stereotypical, and we need to incorporate more images of people of other races engaging in everyday practices, such as doing the washing, shopping, or doing the dishes. I also reflect on how people of other races may feel a sense of belonging in our community, and most of you are aware that the current framework on which we operate and its focus on being, belonging, and becoming. There are many ways in which our owners can adapt to further a sense of belonging, e.g., by incorporating other translations in the enrolment brochures and providing us with the resources we need to be able to teach this concept effectively in our community. Exploring some of the theorists associated with this subject has helped me further understand how to evaluate and improve myself as an educator. So I will share with you the works of Banks, who in 1993 stated that he viewed the primary goal of multicultural education as transforming schools so that all students will acquire the knowledge, attitudes, and skills needed to function in an ethnically and racially diverse nation and the world. The reason that I'm sharing this information with you is based on the fact that all of us together makes a community, and Macmillan and Jarvis, also notable theorists in the area and sense of community, state that the sense of community is a feeling members have of belonging, a feeling that members matter to one another and the group, and a shared faith that members' needs will be met through their commitments to be together. After researching this matter further, I realised I needed your assistance to improve myself and our community, as I have found areas that need improvements that we are collectively able to make. You guys have seen me through a lot, both personally and professionally, and I'm confident that if we work together, we can make a difference to this environment. There are many elements of belonging which are shown in the environment, and I think we all need to be congratulated on our contribution to this. The photos of the children that are displayed on the walls with their artwork is a great example of this, as are the events that we hold based on their cultures and our relationship with the families. When I read about belonging, one of the main images I had in my mind is the displays that we all do, and I had to smile. Every child is equally reflected in the photos, and they accurately capture the positive emotions the children feel as a result of being a member of our community. I would like to hand back to Letitia now and thank you for the opportunity to share with you. I will make all of the relevant reading available in the staff room, and Letitia has kindly agreed to provide some work time for you to go over them, as both of us have found them beneficial in our growth as educators. For the next staff meeting, I would also like you to find an image or example of belonging and difference, either positive or negative, so we can use these as a base for further understanding and improvement as we all work together to make our environment more inclusive.